Do you ever want to drink tea but are worried that caffeine will keep you up at night? In this video, we're going to go over a few teas that will be great to drink before going to bed, either in the late afternoon or evening. These teas are all low in caffeine, so you can get plenty of the flavor and health benefits you like from green tea without the caffeine. First, let's start off by saying that all true teas contain some level of caffeine. Drinks like chamomile and peppermint are not actually teas because they don't come from the tea plant. The tea plant naturally produces caffeine as a defense mechanism to protect itself from insects. As a result, virtually all teas will have caffeine in them, although some are incredibly low in caffeine. These teas can be a good choice for later on in the day and even at night. The first tea we will be discussing is Hojicha, a special type of roasted tea from Japan. During the production process, this tea is roasted in a hot pan at a higher heat. This heat can reduce the amount of caffeine, making Hojicha lower in caffeine than its unroasted counterparts. The tea also has a warmer and more soothing flavor to it. The tasting notes of dark chocolate and caramel are the perfect thing to curl up with at the end of a long day. For warm summer evenings, you can also prepare this tea as a cold brew and you will get the same effect. In fact, the cooler water will extract the sweeter notes from the leaves, giving the tea an even smoother taste. Hojicha is often made from more stems and older leaves than a typical sencha tea. Sencha is made from the younger sprouts of the tea plant, which tend to have a higher concentration of caffeine. That's because these younger leaves are more tender and therefore they're more vulnerable to insects. The older leaves and stems of the tea plant are tougher and therefore they don't need to produce as much caffeine to protect themselves. For this reason, Kukicha, a tea made from stems, and Bancha, a tea made from older leaves, are also good teas for the evening. Bancha is quite an inexpensive tea, but it's actually the second most common type of tea in Japan after sencha. This tea is made from the older, thicker leaves of the tea plant. The flavor tends to play more on these warm wood, cereal, and popcorn notes. Because of the unique and more subtle taste of the tea, we think that it makes for a good snacking tea, meaning that it pairs well with afternoon snacks like popcorn and mixed nuts. The tea is sometimes drunk in Japan after a meal to help aid in digestion. This tea makes a great addition to your evening routine, and it's one of the most affordable types of Japanese green tea. It costs just $16 for 100 grams of this tea, which is enough to make 100 cups of tea, as you can reuse the leaves 5 times. Kukicha is another great tea you can drink before bed. This tea is made from the stems of the tea plant, which give the tea a pleasant straw or late summer grass flavor. The addition of the stems can make the overall flavor of the tea a bit milder. For example, a tea like karegane is made from the stems and leaves of the plants used to make gyokuro. While gyokuro would normally have this powerful sweet and savory flavor that a lot of tea drinkers find too intense, the stems create more of a milder flavor. The karegane gives you more of a neutral taste, with notes of cucumber, cantaloupe melon, and straw. While karegane is more on the expensive side, most Kukicha teas are at a lower price. The caffeine content in Kukicha is also much lower than that of leaf teas, containing around 18 milligrams of caffeine, or less than a quarter of a small cup of coffee. Depending on how sensitive you are to caffeine, you can definitely enjoy this tea at nighttime or even before bed. Stem teas can even be roasted to form a Kuki Hojicha, which will be even lower in caffeine. The Kuki Hojicha from Mr. Isen takes on an even darker flavor profile, similar to that of black coffee, minus the caffeine. The final Japanese green tea to have before bed is Genmaicha. This tea is made by combining toasted rice with tea leaves. Originally, this started as a way to conserve tea leaves during times of economic hardship, but it eventually became its own popular form of green tea. Because there is no caffeine in toasted rice, it brings the caffeine content of the tea down, allowing you to enjoy this tea into the late evening. This tea has these warm cereal notes you may find nice and soothing right before bed. The tea has a nice sweetness to it with some light grassy notes from the tea leaves. You can also get the genmai or toasted rice separately and add it to the tea leaves yourself. One last tip when it comes to regulating the caffeine content in your tea in the late afternoon or evening is to use later brewings. Most of the caffeine will be in the first steeping of the green tea, so by saving the later brewings of the tea for the afternoon or evening, you can drastically cut down the caffeine that you consume right before bed. What we like to do is consume the first steeping of the tea in the morning, the second steeping in the afternoon, and the third steeping in the evening. This is a good way to get that energy boost in the morning and still be able to enjoy teas throughout the day without having too much caffeine right before bed. So there you have it, 4 great Japanese green teas you can enjoy before bed. I hope you have found this video helpful when it comes to picking out your next evening tea. If you have any questions, please feel free to leave them in the comments section below. Otherwise, we'll see you next time.